What's up, party people? Hey, Doug Lane here, Fastlane Car Care. Today, we're going to be working on a 2022 Honda HRV. It's got less than 200 miles on it. Not that you care, but I had a couple people reach out and say that they enjoyed the longer format videos, so I'm just going to kind of talk to you guys while I tint this car. Got some ideas in my brain that I'd like to kind of go over. First thing I do anytime I do a car is I wipe off this area. I like to take a dirty towel, and it's dry and everything, but I like to put it right there on the kick panels because the easiest, safest way for me to reach the area of the windshield is going to be like this, standing on it. And I don't want to scratch up, I don't want to scratch that up or get it dirty. So, a little fuzzy. I'm mainly just concerned with this top spot, this top area, because we're going to do a strip. And that's why I keep my dirty towels here. I wouldn't unlock the door. All right, got the snow cone machine out. So my 8-year-old is wanting to sell snow cones and lemonade during the summer. So we got the snow cone machine out, got it cleaned up, out of storage. Just ready to go. We got the funnels in there, or I don't know, cones or whatever. We'll see if she actually sticks to it. I think she probably will, but we'll see. If you guys have watched my videos before, usually I'm wearing like a logoed shirt. Well, I don't have to deal with anybody today. So all of my customers dropped their cars off last night, which works out great for me. So I don't have to worry about being done at a certain time or anything like that. They're actually, neither of them, I got two cars to do. Neither of them are going to be here by like 4 or 5 o'clock, so easy peasy. Now, one thing I will say, I like to leave one of the doors open just in case. A lot of these cars, they can be locked or unlocked from anywhere, so you don't want to be working on a car and then somebody messing around with their app, they accidentally lock the car, or sometimes they'll just automatically lock on their own after a certain amount of time. Different cars do all kinds of different things, so I'd like to leave one door open the entire time. That way, if something happens, I got a way to get back in. I'm gonna cut this about 38. The only thing you guys haven't seen me do, this morning I filled up the keg. Actually, I filled it up last night, but what I did was I pressurized it this morning. It's like the worst cut ever. Hopefully it will work. What we can do, right, we got this real wavy, choppy cut I just made. We'll flip this over. So now, we're gonna get rid of it, basically. Some people complain about these HRVs. I really don't think they're hard at all. This isn't going to be its final resting spot, but just do that enough to hold it in place while I go ahead and trim this excess off. I'm using 24-inch rolls. It's my favorite. Big enough to do any window that you're going to need to do as far as side windows, even like the F-150s and stuff. You can do them. They're a little bit tricky if you're only going to do them with a 20-some inch roll, but you can do them. So what I did is I just pulled my film down a little bit, couple of reasons. When I'm putting my next layer on, because I'm going to double cut, I don't want one to be significantly longer than the other. This is an easy way I can make sure that it's about where I want it. And we're just going to kind of tack it down with the felt card. You want to keep this clean if you're going to do what I'm about to do. So this is a release liner here, so we can scratch this up. It's not going to matter. Our next layer is going to go opposite. That's going to be our passenger side. Some people cut it the opposite way, so that way they're manipulating the hard coat. I will, when I put my passenger side one on here, I will be actually squeegeeing the side that the customer sees. Never had an issue with this film. I keep my tools, you know, clean. I don't use a hard card during this method at all. I just use a felt wrap card. If you drop this, you want to clean it, you know, just wipe it off with a squeegee or with a towel or whatever. And if these will start to get worn down to where the plastic's starting to get exposed, get a new one. They're cheap. They last for a long time. Let's see if we can make a little nicer cut than we did last time. This is Helios Orbit. It's color stable, lifetime warranty dyed film. I know some people talk bad about dyed films, but I live in Ohio. It's the standard around here. 98% of my customers don't even know what carbon tint is, and even the ones that know what ceramic tint is, they really don't know what it is. They just saw some stupid TikTok video and they think that you can see out of it at night like it's clear, and it's, yeah, I hate having to explain that to them because you know, they think that it's real. So then they don't know if they can trust you, or you lying because you don't, you know, are you the one that doesn't know what they're talking about, or is the TikTok video lying? You know what I mean? Hate dealing with that. So what I do with these, this is why I like using 24s. It's not going to help me out in this situation here, but a lot of times, like on your CRVs and other cars that have the camera deal here, there's your strip, 2-piece. You just line it up where you want it, measure your 4 points basically. I like to make a Sharpie line, which I'll show you later on this single. It's going to be a 1-piece deal, but it's basically the same. Put a Sharpie line wherever you want it to go, put a Sharpie line wherever you want the middle and the end to be. This being a single piece strip, it's just going to be 2 markings, and then when you're on the inside, you just sit your film right back on that line and you're good to go. So what we need to do, I don't know why I just put my knife away, we need to get to cutting. So what I'll do is I just lay these up here so they can dry a little bit, and then I'll roll them up, tape them. Basically, these ones aren't taped, but same principle. Honestly, I could throw them away. I've got boxes of them at this point, so it's not really a big deal, but that's why I keep them. That's why I like using a 24. You can use your extra, and then that works out really nice too. If you have a customer that say they had to have a windshield replaced or whatever, and they want to strip, you don't have to, you know, cut any new film off. You can just go to your little box of scraps or what have you, and bada bing, bada boom, pull out a 2-piece strip. Like I said, if it's carved with like the camera deal on it. The only real drawback to that is if you if you're like me and you have tons of scraps, then sometimes it takes more time to find the pieces that you need than if you just, you know what I mean, roll off a new section and be done with it. But one of the things I like to do, make sure I'm overlapped on both sides. Yeah, that's good. That should work. That should be plenty. Now I'm going to hard tool it. You know, again, I'm using a squeegee, not a hard card or anything like that, because this side of the tint that I'm working and touching right now is what's going to be on the inside of the glass. So one thing I do is I will take masking tape and I will tape these up, and I'll write down like with a Sharpie. Single strip. Like if it's a big truck size strip, I'll put big single, big 2-piece, 2-piece both. Like sometimes I'll put those together and roll them both up together. And so then I'll put 2-piece, both strips, whatever. It's just a little label method that I use. I'll throw it back in the box. And then when that box is gone, I'll take the core out and everything, and then it'll just say scraps. And then after I accumulate a whole bunch of those boxes, I get frustrated and I just start throwing them away. But it's nice to have some scraps, especially if you're like training, if you're just learning, or if you are going to train somebody else. It works out really well because you can put them on like quarter windows, you know what I mean? And you've got all these scraps, and you can teach them, you can let your trainee, or you can practice cutting out quarter windows or small, whatever you've got scraps to cover. You can get a lot of practice, and it really doesn't cost you anything, because it was just film that was going to get thrown away anyway. So I don't know, that's why I like to do it. When I had people that worked for me, that's what I had them do. I got them started on quarter windows, and then if they mess something up, it's pretty simple. You just grab a scrap out of the box and fix it. Do that just a little better, I think. Here, little buddy. Oh well. Did that come off there? Okay. Yeah. This I'm gonna have to snap off both blades because of cutting off that top edge. I do carry 2 knives. I could use a different knife for the top edge, but I just get kind of lazy and don't like to switch 2 blades. Excuse me. So I think what I'll do, I'll chit chat with you on this one, show you how I do this process, install the one, and then I'll just, basically time lapse the passenger side install. And then slow it back down when I do the windshield strip. Oh, we'll talk about why I only have 2 cars. So, benefit of being self-employed, you get to set your own schedule. For the most part, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do to, get the bills paid, but like on Mondays and Tuesdays, I have to take my kid back and forth to school, so I don't do as much because I only have about 3.5, 4 hours or so, something like that, between when I get back from dropping her off and when I have to leave to go pick her up. So Mondays, kind of a slow day. Works out pretty well. You just kind of get back into it. Ideally, I would like to have 1 full car or SUV to do, 1 full vehicle, and then like a front 2 and a strip or something like that. But the way it worked out, I got a front 2 and a strip on this, and then a buddy of mine, longtime customer, he had his back window broken out, so we got to redo it. Nice easy day, a few $100, couple hours of work. No big deal. I don't think this is 100% necessary on these cars. The windows aren't super curved, but I mean, it's gonna take me like 2 minutes. So I'd rather just go ahead, knock that out, and then find out later that it didn't need shrink, rather than not shrink it and have to fight with it, fight with fingers and stuff like that. On the inside, you can do it however you want. If you don't want to shrink, don't shrink. But this has a cloth door panel, so you're gonna have a lot more chance of melting or burning the fabric if you have to use a heat gun on the inside to shrink it after the fact. So like I said, just for the 2 minutes that it took, we can shrink it. It's not gonna hurt anything, unless you really, like, if you really over shrink it, then yeah. But now, double shrinking carbon or ceramic films, don't waste your time, because the top layer will block most of the heat from the second layer. So what you end up having is whichever one is closest to you, however you set them up. In my case, the passenger side. The passenger side will be really well shrunk. The driver's side won't be. So then you'll be in some trouble there. So the biggest complaint I have with doing these little SUVs is they're kind of short. I mean, I'm short too, but they're shorter than I would like. So the problem that I have is my rolly stool, my little rolling chair over there, is too short. It puts me like all at an awkward angle to install. And then but then if I'm just standing, you know, I'm still at like a weird angle. So it is what it is. I'm not having any scrubbies in here. I gotta have a scrubby. But really not. I really don't. Whatever. I don't know why I put it back in here, but let's see if this has got a hydrophobic coating. Nah, it doesn't. So I'll just use them out of here first. Couple of towels. I like to use one of the green ones just to set my tools on for a minute. Jeez, grab a bunch of them. Put me a couple right here. One thing I hate about Hondas. Let's see if this will work. I don't think it will. Yeah. You can see it's got headlights on. Even though the headlights are off, they got the daytime running lights. They don't turn off. I'm sure you can pull a fuse or something, but I'm just not going to go through that hassle. So the problem is, if you've got one that's a few years old, they can run the battery dead pretty quick. One thing I do when I'm moving them in is I check to turn off the climate control. I check to turn off the radio, any other stuff that can draw power. So I'm just using a blue scrubby. Scrub my top edge, scrub back here real well. Throw that down, take my other towel. I like to dry my top edge. We can get any little crud and debris off of there. And that one's pretty clean, which, like I said, less than 200 miles on this car, so not super surprised, but just a good habit. Before this crazy used car market that we found ourselves in now, you know, cars might be brand new, but they might sit on the lot and get a bunch of dust and dirt in them. It might sit there for a while, months. Now it seems like just about everything's made to order. I use the same squeegee to clean with as I do to install with. Some people frown upon that. I don't know, I've just never really had an issue with it. Probably one of the main reasons is I wipe it off every time. And I don't drop my tools. At least I try not to. If I do, I wipe them off with a microfiber and some soap, slip solution. And I sand them down once in a while too. So that little foot may be a little bit too thick here, so we're gonna grab our blue tri-edge just in case we need it here in a minute. One thing that I like about these cars versus other Hondas is the seals are not that tight at all, and you've got quite a bit of space on the front and back sides. Once you pay attention, somebody told me try to not touch the film. I don't. I stick my hand back here, grab a hold of it here, bring my other hand here. I'm going to lift it up over the mirror if I need to. I'm going to come around like this. Now I got to get in this weird position. Again, I'm not touching anything. Sometimes, just depends on the window, I might set the front first. Sometimes I might set the back first. Just depends. What we're doing here is I want to kind of get that roughly into place. And then I want to just bring this down. I really don't want it to overlap like it just did, but you know, it is what it is. More importantly, we don't want to put a bunch of pressure right down here, so we don't get those creases that people say you always get if you two-stage. Just not true. So that's a pretty good consistent gap. I'm pretty happy with that. Now what we want to do, come around here so I can show you. I want to take my shank, I want to stick it right there and make sure that I can't see white. I'm going to do the same thing in this front edge. Make sure that I can't see, you know what I mean? Make sure basically don't have a light gap or cut line, whatever you want to call it. This is always the most nerve-wracking window every day. The driver's side after you, or the first window I should say, after you fill up a tank. Because even though you can mix your slip solution, I do a pretty good job at making sure it's consistent, and I do a pretty decent job of taking note of what the temperature is and how, you know, how the film slipped or how the solution slipped at whatever temperature it is outside or in here or whatever. Sometimes for whatever reason, like your first little bit of solution just doesn't go how you thought it would go. So I like mine slippery enough that I can fine tune it, and it can get you in trouble too. If you have it that slippery, it can definitely get you in trouble. But I might spend a couple minutes here just making sure this top edge is just as perfect as I can get. So now we got this big finger to contend with. Not a big deal. I got one finger here just kind of holding it in place, and then, you know, squeegee whatever way you want. Just pay attention if you're shifting the film at all. You want to make sure that, you know, you put it back before you try to roll it up, basically. If you really want to, if you're nervous, grab your heat gun. Just go ahead and shrink that out. All we're doing is just tacking that up. Another thing I like to do, wipe my top edge off, make sure there's no moisture. Come over here, make sure I don't have any little bubbles that got pushed up in this corner where I'm not going to be able to reach them later. Now I want to lift up on my film, slightly rolled up. Okay, grab this like this. I'm gonna take it and tuck that in. You could do that before you roll it up, but what I've found is as long as you don't have like that, we might have to deal with, but I don't want it to touch the fabric at all if I can help it. I know there's probably a dozen people out there. I'm sure there's more than that. I'm sure there's a bunch of people that could do this way faster, but I'm not really interested in being the fastest tinner. I want to just deliver the best quality that I can, as long as it financially makes sense. So obviously if it took me all day to do 2 windows, you know, there wouldn't really be much money in that. But if we can do a dang good job for a reasonable amount of money, customer's happy, I'm happy, they tell all their friends. Right here, I'm being pretty gentle, not using a whole lot of force because I don't want this film to slip down on me and make a big top edge, basically. So just kind of push this out. Definitely a little issue right there. Now, I'll just go ahead and take this, sweep it out across the bottom, boom. Take this little guy, push him down there, come back across. Go ahead. There we go. Now, what we want to do is this quick mist. Now we've got everything pretty well locked down. We can hard tool. Just come across with quite a bit more pressure. If you really want to get close to this edge, you know, take your little fusion there. Now if we want to make sure we got all the way up in there, we can. Boom. Okay. Not worried about hitting this glass cleaner yet. It's not completely done. I don't know if you can see this on film, but we definitely let that crease up a little bit. Not to worry, I got a little spot right here. Normally, I just leave that for a minute. Okay, couple things you can do. So if you just let this dry out for a few minutes, you know, 10 minutes, whatever, while you go do the other side, a lot of times this will just lay right down. But what we're gonna do just in the entrance of the video is heat this up. I want to get that glass pretty hot. And I like to come in here and just real quick. Make sure you're not pointing your heat gun at anything too closely. You don't want to melt this stuff. Now, all we're left with is just the faintest little something. I mean, you're gonna have to be right up on it, and of course with the mirror being here, it's gonna be pretty difficult to do. We can do the same thing with this. I usually don't make a big deal. About that stuff at first, because like I said, the film's still wet. My solution is a little bit on the slippery side, so it's going to take a little bit of time for it to tack up. We've got one little finger right here trying to suck water. So what we'll do is find our shank. We don't want to sit here and push this out, push this out, push this out. It's going to suck up junk if we can't get it out the first time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically dry it out down there. Okay, dry the bottom of that seal. Take whatever card you want. You want to take your little foot, shank, you know, pull your seal back, boom, boom. This is gonna push the moisture out down below that area. It's not gonna be able to suck it back in. Pretty simple. Most of this stuff, guys, as long as you catch it before it fully dries, you can fix it. Some stuff, yeah, some stuff it's just not, you know, you get a big hair or something underneath there, you're not going to really be able to fix that. Sometimes you can use the tape method. Now, one thing I want to do real quick, just show you, our gap's still consistent, right? So sometimes what will happen if you have a really slippery slip solution, when you squeegee down, it will pull your film down with it. Boom. Go ahead one more time, just for good measure. It's really important to make sure your tools are clean during this process too, because you can scratch your film pretty easily if you've got messed up tools. So there's that. Is that? I think that's on the, yeah, there's a little piece of dust right there on the outside of the seal. Had me messed up. I like to throw away my liner. That way I don't slip and fall on it. Sorry guys, allergy season. Go ahead and set that here. Wipe that off. See, we got a little finger right there just wanting to pop up, but like I said, we can sit here and heat it and mess with it and heat it and mess with it and risk damaging or scratching the film, or we can just wait 5 minutes, wait for that glue to dry out, push it out, it'll be done. Let's go over here and do the next one. All right. Now, for whatever reason, the passenger side seems to go easier for me. Some people like to do the passenger side first. I don't know. I just like to do the driver's side first. I don't know. It's just the way I do it. Couldn't tell you why. So. All right, so this little spot here is kind of being a pain. So we're gonna use another little trick. We're gonna get the glass warm. Hit the film real quick. Take our card with a paper towel and push that in. Here's the tricky part. Got myself all wrapped up in this cord. Tricky part is getting this back out without peeling the film back. So if you're going in here, I don't know if I can even do this. If you're going in at an angle, right, and you push that bubble out, you want to like put it flat up against the glass. Because if you're pushing like this and then you go to pull out like that, it can snag that edge of the film and peel the film back. Nobody wants that. So if you're gonna use that because you've got extra thickness and extra grip, you're gonna push it out, push your bubble out, go flat, and gently pull it out. So other than that, looks good. Time to move on to the next step. Check this little spot right here. Yep, can't even see it. Don't even know where it's at. Nothing on the bottom. We'll check the other one after it sits for a few. So I want to talk about my slip solution. It's just Dawn, nothing special. But here's the deal. I actually keep pretty close track of this. So our indoor temperature is like 65, our outdoor is 59. So I've got 2 gallons of slip here. I need it to perform at 65, you know what I mean? When it gets warmer, I need it to still slip. So I don't want to mix 2 gallons of slip to be perfect at 65 degrees, and then when it gets 75, 80 later today, it's tacking up too fast and I'm, you know, creasing it because I can't get it in a position. So it's kind of give and take. It's kind of give and take. You gotta deal with it to be a little bit slippery now in order to, you know, have it perfect later. Time to do the strip. We've got our sun distributing dash towel. Man, this thing's like filthy for being less than 200 miles. Now some people will put a soak rope down for a windshield strip. I don't know. I guess in my opinion, you shouldn't have that much moisture running down here. But anyway, Honda rear view mirror, T20 Torx, couple turns, shimmy it off of there. We're going to back it up just a little bit more because it was a little bit tight. And then I like to just lay my screwdriver here, my mirror. Sometimes I'll put them in the back. Oh, yep. Puppers. So I think where I'm gonna go with this one is probably just below this dot matrix right here and do a little cut around the border, put my mirror back on. I mean, you could technically do this without, but I mean, you saw how easy it was. I hope I'm never so pressed for time in my tint career that I don't have time to take off a screw-on type mirror in order to save myself having to fight with maneuvering it around it. So anyway, here's what I was talking about earlier. So I'm gonna slide these. You can see they're like together. I like to just get them started and then roll them up. I don't really like to drag them across the hood of a car, especially if the car is dirty. But, you know, just to get it started, you know, it's really the best way I've found. Something also to keep in mind here, I started out mobile. You know what I mean? So I had to learn how to do everything on the car. I don't have a peel board or a plotter, any of that stuff. So I'll just show you this. Right here, we're gonna tape them. Tape them up kind of tight. I never leave home without one of these, and if I do, I've got more here. I've got more in here. I keep these markers, man. So what I'll do, right, just put 2PC, right? 2-piece strip, boom, I got it. A couple different ways you can do this. You use dryer sheet. I don't like using dryer sheet on a strip. I just prefer to just wet shrink them. I'll tell you why. It seems like once I do the dryer sheet, it just, I don't know, it just wants to slide around. There's not enough moisture there to hold it in place. If you have 2 people, it works out great. You can eyeball it, get it pretty well straight. I mean, heck, when I had people working for me, we could routinely get it within 1/4 of an inch to where all we'd have to do is just measure both sides. You know, bada bing, bada boom, and we were done. So this should give me plenty. I'll be super mad if it doesn't. But it'll be my own fault. So this is the hardest part about doing strips if you're on your own. Right, because you can't get too aggressive because the film will just crease. So you kind of gotta do a little back and forth. Like, I like to just get pretty close. So that looks pretty well straight, and that looks pretty well where I want it. So what I'm gonna do, just tack it down real quick. I'm gonna cut this extra off. I didn't cut hard enough through it the first time, so. Needed fresh bleed. So I'm leaving myself, I don't know, 1.5 inches past this border. And then I like to cut it relatively straight. Now, we got another strip we can make. If we mess up, which hopefully we won't. We'll do the same thing, provided we don't need it on this. We'll roll it up and mark it down, big single strip or big single or something like that. So just go ahead and tack my edges down. Tape measure. I like to measure from the exact same spot on both sides. So we got just less than 10.5. Just almost 10.5. It's whatever is it between 3/8 and a half. There's a 1/16, I'm sure, but I'm not that great with the tape measure. So it doesn't necessarily matter as long as we know what dot we're trying to line up on the other side. So find 10.5, right? Let me see if I can't get my marker out. It might be too thin or too big. So 10.5 is right here. And we need our line between 1/2 and 3/8, right? I don't know if you guys can see that. We need to be right about there. So what we're going to do, hold our tape measure. Okay. Now what we want to do is we don't want that to move. So we've got a couple options. We'll just go ahead and use our felt card. Some of that moisture out of there. Let's double check, make sure we didn't move it. Yep. Just a little over 10 3/8. On this side. I think we need to come down just a smidge. There we go. Is it necessary to be this precise? I don't know, you tell me. I didn't have anybody show me how to do this stuff, so I had to learn it myself. That's friggin' perfect. So I didn't have anybody. Oh, I want to point out something too. This needs more masking tape, but when masking tape these edges, might as well just peel this off because it needs redone. Masking tape this edge so it doesn't scratch anything. And then I always use I always use rubber coated tape measures. Reason being, you know, if you do need to sit it up here or whatever on the glass, it's not going to damage the glass. Make sure your belt clip is up, but it's just way safer, a lot less risk than using a metal bodied tape measure. Now some people will say that you don't need to shrink that. You just, you know, just stretch the film. And we probably could. But I don't want to use the heat gun on the inside. I don't want any little fingers popping up. There's one side. The big thing to keep in mind here is we don't want to over shrink our edges. You can see there's a little crease right there. It's well out of where we're going to cut, so it doesn't really matter. We're going to cut it about right there. But some cars you won't have much of a border at all on, so you got to be careful. And then here's what we're going to do. Dry our glass on our film right there. Take a Sharpie. We're just going to basically trace our tint right there. Now we're going to repeat the process on the other side. Let's talk about that for a split second. That is a 40-inch by I don't know how long vinyl decal that's going to go on the outside of this garage door. So some of you guys have been following me for a while might know that I had a relatively large shop. It was basically 3 bays, but you could fit 4 or 5 cars in it if you wanted to. Pretty good location, really good location, but I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on the videos, but I had to share it with like there's another business on the other side of the building, so like we had to share the bathroom and the waiting area and stuff. And one day I came in and there was a broken window in the parking lot, like somebody's car window got smashed out. It wasn't any of my people's. It was over the weekend, so my customers weren't there. But then the same day we found drugs in the bathroom, so had to leave. It wasn't like maybe I don't know It wasn't very long after that I was out of there. So this is my house garage, obviously. I can't legally have a sign here, so we're going to stick a big sticker on there on the door. That way at least people will know they're in the right spot. I worked out here for a long time before. Never an issue. My neighbors are cool. We don't, in my area, people that are getting their windows tinted, they're pretty cool people most of the time. So one thing you can do if you don't want to get a crease on this edge, like over there, you could take your hard card and block it from getting hot. So this part will get hot, this part will not. Obviously your car is going to block it. That can prevent you, it can really help you out on like certain generation Chevy trucks where you've got like this much room. So you just run your hard card up that edge, because if not, it's really easy for that film to try to shrink sideways on you, which will pinch it and then it'll be trashed. So a little pro tip. This right here is like my favorite light now. I mean, I love it. Use it every day. Turn it up. We're just gonna put it right there underneath our button. We're gonna do the same thing we did on the other side. Trace our mark. Now we know exactly where to cut. Something I also like to do, I already did, but I like to pay attention to how much of room I have on every side. Especially if the windshield's been replaced. Sometimes you'll have glue squeeze out or the trim panel won't quite fit right. That's something you want to be aware of beforehand so you can cut your pattern accordingly. I also hear that's why most people do not cut windshield strips or full windshields with plotters, because they're typically not very accurate. I've found even in new cars with factory glass, especially on your Chryslers and Jeeps, they can be, you get all kinds of like trim panels that don't line up right and stuff like that. So basically on this car, we've got about a half a mile on each side. So we're just gonna try to be consistent. You know, we don't want our cut going like that, but we want to be consistent, but we can overlap quite a bit. Not gonna be a huge deal. All right, where were we? Had a battery die. So, yep, just gonna keep cutting this. All right. Man, I hate allergy season. It's the worst. Might as well snap that. So, if I was a pro, I'd have all this stuff ready. I guess I'm not. Reasons why I love this light. You can, let me just quit blinding you. You can hook it this way. You can hook it this way. It's magnetic. I mean, it just, you can dim it up, down, whatever. It's really great for doing the back windows on trucks because you can hang them from the little luggage rack or whatever. Little coat hook, whatever you want. So check us out. I don't know if you can hear it, but we have the texture dot matrix. Some vehicles will have this layered in between the glass, so this will actually be smooth. This is not one of those vehicles. Also pay attention right up in here where everybody sticks their oil change stickers. You want to make sure there's no residue or anything. This car, like I said, new. So I'm just going to use a scrubby pad. That's a steel wool, like, I don't know, for dishes. I don't have any idea. It roughs this up just a little bit. It'll let your tint stick to it way better than if you just use a scrub pad, like a regular non-scratch whatever deal. This won't scratch glass. I've done every back window and every windshield with texture dot matrix, and even some that aren't. I'm sure you could make it scratch if you got careless, but if you're just using it like this, putting modest pressure on it, it's no big deal. I like to clean just a little bit below where my tint's going to go too, so that way if I stick it on there and have to slide it up, you know, it's not a big deal. Here's why I don't use the soak rope. Look, this is my biggest drip right there. So we could just right there. I want to kind of get back in there, and I want to get up in here as much as I can. This is the big thing. Make sure you get this button cleaned. Now this, it doesn't really matter, just bada bing, bada boom. Okay, we want to make sure we get this clean. This always seems to have dust and crap on it. Just depends on the style of mirror. I shouldn't say the style, but rather the placement on whether I go all the way across or if I just do like this, split it in half. So we've got below where we need to go squeegeed out. I would put all my hard cards away. We can use anything we want really at this point. Just wipe that down real quick. You can wipe the pillars down if you want, but we're just gonna get them wet again, so. I do that, I don't know if you've seen some of my other videos, I've told you. I spray above my liner before I peel it, so that way any dust that might be floating around above the air, in the air above the strip will fall down. It's gonna reduce the amount of contamination you're gonna get in. Do the same thing over here. Now we can just reverse roll it if we want. We can pull the whole thing in, set it on the dash, peel the liner off, then stick it. Really, sky's the limit. Do just about whatever we want here. Let's just reverse roll it for kicks and giggles. Ugh. That should be plenty. Now, I like to hit that dot matrix one more time because it's always sticky right there. Like this stuff, now that I've done what I've done to it, roughed it up with a pad, it tends to want to stick real quick there. So, what we want to do is get right there. Ideally, we'd roll this up a little bit further, but boom. Okay, now we're ready to reverse roll. Okay, fold it, tuck it up in there. That way we're not brushing it along the liner or the A-pillar. Line up my lines. Yep, everything's covered, everything's consistent. It's already trying to stick right there. So we're touching. This is a tricky thing too. Your perception, you know what I mean, plays a big role. Because you can look at it from one angle and think, you know, it's no good or whatever. Look at it from a different angle, it looks perfect. They can both help you and hinder you. But my rule of thumb is if it's within a 64th, it's golden. If you need a tape measure to prove that it's off, it's close enough. It's really tough. I mean, it's like, you know, you get your slip solution too wet, you can put it on here, and then as you're squeegeeing it, try to shift on you. So, you know, something to consider. The film's gonna want to go straight, So just kind of, you know, get it where it needs to be and let it do its thing. I don't know if you can tell on the video, but my pattern is too far to the driver's side. It's not gonna matter. Everything's covered, everything's good, but just looking, I'm just barely over here, and I'm just barely over right here. So just something to be wary of, pay attention to. Go ahead, wipe down my pillars first. Don't want any water damage. Never had any issues before, but you know. Now we're basically done with this towel, so guess what? We're mopping up some moisture. Now I'm not trying to get it 100% clean. I just want to get it dry. It's gonna be streaky. It's gonna be gross. But that's where glass cleaner comes in after the fact. I clean all the windows on these cars after I'm done, even like how I only did the front two in a strip. I will still clean the back window, back roll-ups, all that. Okay, there we go. Some water spots on this deal already. So, something that I can see, I don't know if you can see. Let's go ahead and get this knocked down here first. That little guy out of the way. So this is what I want to point out. We got a couple little specks, not specks, a couple little fingers right there. We'll go ahead and double check the other side. And got some hard water spots here. We do have one little speck of contamination right there. So it is what it is. Look at that. We just wiped off our Sharpie mark. Let's see, is it a bubble? No, it's contamination. But at least we can push most of it. Most of the air out. I mean, you're gonna have it. You're not gonna be 100% perfect. So Sharpie mark, it just pretty much wipes right off. If you do let it sit for too long, you might have to use glass cleaner to get it off, but if you spray Windex or spray away or whatever on it real quick, let it sit for 10-15 seconds, it'll go away. All right, so get her little drips there, get her little drips off the inside here. And when I'm doing this, I'm not using like any pressure at all. I'm just basically using enough pressure to hold the towel onto the glass. Because trust me, if you use too much, like especially like this, you come here, boom, peel up your edge, then you're gonna have a bunch of dust and dirt in your tint. And it's gonna look like crap. You're gonna have to redo it. So don't do that. How are we gonna fix that spot? Two little spots. Well, hard card. We can wrap it in a paper towel if we want. Kind of goes back to what we did earlier on the side. We don't necessarily have to do this part with the paper towel. Really, we're just gonna shrink it real quick and it'll be done. But once in a while, what'll happen is I've had it happen a couple of times. That little spot right there. You'll get like a little fiber, like a little hair, a little piece of dust or whatever, and it'll keep that edge from locking down. Sometimes what you can do is take your fingernail and just grab a hold of it and pull it straight down. It'll pull that dust out of the film and you'll be good to go. So that's pretty much it. So we're just gonna double check here real quick. Make sure we don't have any fingers up here on the top. It looks good. So we'll go ahead and install the world's easiest mirror. So check this out. Be super careful because you can definitely get carried away and touch that and chip your film. Man, I did this, it was a Ram, I don't know, it was an older style. And I did the windshield, I did the strip, and I had to redo it, because this guy had a, like, remote start box or whatever, and he didn't like the way I cut around it. I should have just told him, you know, too bad. But, you know, start trying to have a good reputation and maintain a good reputation when you're starting out. I was like, you know what, just, you know, take your little remote start box off or whatever, and I'll redo it. So I had a bunch of time in redoing it. I had this thing perfect as perfect could be. I had my flashlight laying up here on the dash. I went like this, barely touched it, but I mean, I just hit it just right. And I was like, yeah, man, this thing's like spotless, perfect, man. And then I just saw this little bubble, and I was like, what the heck? And I was messing with it, trying to get it to lay down. And I was like, oh, it chipped the tint. Like, it chipped and tore it right there. I had to peel it all off. Of course, it was summertime, so it already started to set up. Had to redo it. Freaking nightmare. I had like 6 or 7 hours into a freaking windshield and strip deal because I had to redo it, you know, twice, basically 3 times. Anyway, that's all I got to share with you today. We will shut this off because you guys saw me already clean windows. We can go over it real quick. Make sure this little guy didn't pop up. We don't have anything that popped up there. Reset our mirror. We don't have anything over here. You already saw me roll it down because we pushed some moisture up in here, so we rolled it down, pushed it out, which gave us the opportunity to check our top edge. Don't be ashamed or upset if, you know, especially if you're learning, but even if you're not learning and you've done this for a while, if you have a little finger pop up after you're done, like, especially if there's big temperature swings, like, you know, it's 60 in here, it's 66 outside, but if I set it in direct sunlight, the glass temperature is going to shoot up pretty quick. There can be, you know, stuff that happens. I've had customers slam their door too hard and stuff pop up. It's going to happen. You'll figure out, like, how much time your film needs to set up and what environmental conditions and all that stuff, but until you get to that point, like, just don't worry about it. I mean, just fix it, take note of it, move along, keep it moving. But see, I'm not shutting that door all the way because I don't want to take a chance of it locking the key in there. I do have a lockout kit and all that stuff, so I can get back in it if I have to, but I'd rather not. So that's all I got for you guys. I'm gonna clean up this glass, get it outside, take a picture, hit the job finish button, send a picture to the customer. Said they're not going to be here until later tonight anyway, so not really a huge deal, but still, I find that if you send them a picture before they pick it up, you're a lot more likely to get a good review. Because like this, you know, they're going to get the job finish text or whatever. They're not going to be here until after 5. So, you know, let's say they get home 6 or 7 o'clock. They've already forgot about your review text 90% of the time. But you send them the review text, or you send them the job finish text, and which I use an automated system, so I'll clear that up. Use an automated system and then manually send them a text picture of their car. You know, they're gonna be like, oh dang, that looks so good, before they even see it in person. Then they'll just go ahead, click that review link, bada bing, bada boom, you got yourself a 5-star review. Not always, sometimes people just aren't gonna leave you a review. Oh well, you know, is what it is, but you might as well increase your chances as much as you can. I'm thinking about doing a whole series on, like, how to start your own business, things I would do differently if I was going to start over from scratch, stuff like that. If anybody's interested in that, just drop it down in the comments. Let me know you're interested. You would watch it, because I've got some ideas, got some plans. but yeah, I don't want to put a bunch of time into a video to get 5 people to watch it. But if there's a, you know, if there's a need for it or a want for it, we'll go ahead and do that. So I'm not too proud to admit my mistakes. I'll tell you all kinds of stuff about like what I would do differently and things I should have handled differently. But while I was cleaning my glass, I noticed I do have like a slight little bit of a crease right here. So it laid down most of the way, but not all the way. Oh, no, maybe. So this is where a heat gun comes in. We could sit it outside, but honestly, once I park this outside, I don't want to have to deal with it again. I don't want to have to move it or go outside and fiddle with it. So we're just gonna hit it right now. You see me keep my heat moving. I don't want to melt this edge. Pretty hot. Go ahead and just real quick there. Sit here and watch it for a second, make sure it doesn't pop back up. Looks like it's gonna be all right. Boom. That's why I like to clean the glass, double check things. I don't like to wipe down the rest of the car because like you see, this car's dirty. I don't want to scratch it. If you're not gonna wash it right, in my opinion, don't wipe it down at all. I know some people say it makes it look better, blah, 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 but especially with brand new cars, people can be really picky and you don't want that. You don't want that hassle. So, oh, another little thing I do not roll down. Stickers. Boom, across my switches. Now, let's say the customer doesn't even see it. They go to roll it down, they realize something's there. They stop what they're doing and look down and figure it out. So that's it, guys. There you go. 20% on the front and strip to match the back. Done. See you on the next one.